Hey, what's up, everybody? Metta World Peace here. Check me out on a Bootleg Kev Podcast.
Bootleg Kev Podcast special guest in here, the legend, Metta World Peace, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, man. It's so good to meet you.
Man,
I was just telling you off camera, when I was 16, I went to your video shoot that you weren't there for, but Mike Jones was there for in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mike Jones, man.
Absolutely. Shout out to Mike Jones. Took a while to get that video done.
There was lowriders and shit. We're at my boy's barbershop.
Yeah. It was nice, man. It was nice. It took a little too long to get it done, but I mean, it was definitely an honor to be on there with Mike Jones because he was kind of hot at that time. I guess his big
he was on fire at that time.
He wasn't like on. He was just like he was still on fire.
Yeah, that was like still tipping.
It was like right at that era.
Yeah, it was like a really big deal that he was in.
But that was like kind of his last like.
That was his last leg. Yes,
that was a long time ago.
Yeah, he had his Ice Age, big old Ice Age.
Yeah, Ice Age. Yeah, shout out to Ice Age. Shout out to Houston.
Back then, when you were because you had like a lot of records with a lot of people. Were you paying for them, or were just people doing them on the strength because they fucked with you? Some
people would do it on the strength. Some things I paid for in music that I now I understand you don't really need to pay to get into the business. You need to work.
Yeah,
that's the main thing.
You can't buy your way into a music career.
You cannot buy your way into music business.
Yeah,
no.
Did you feel like you tried that?
Well, it wasn't like I was trying to, but I mean, I thought I had a shot. I did try to do certain things. Like we had a studio at one point in time in Jersey. With, True Warrior, Rock Chalice, Foul Monday.
I remember, you know what's crazy? The Chalice guy I met.
You probably met him. He did
a lot.
He engineered, he produced. He was out here in LA.
Was he in Phoenix at all?
He was at Phoenix. He was there.
Then I definitely met Chalice.
He wouldn't phone me because I couldn't make it that day.
That's who I was. Yeah, I met him at the shoot. I remember that name, yep. Chalice, yeah.
He was on Nas album, the 41st Side album. He was the only one with a solo. It was called Money.
Wow.
And Nas blessed him and let him do a solo. And that was big.
Yo, you have one of the more iconic, just I feel like careers in the NBA when I think of like personalities and just storylines that, you know, we think of guys like yourself, guys like Shaq, guys like Dennis Rodman. We're just like, man, just what a crazy roller coaster of a ride your career was. Like, I remember when you got drafted by the Bulls, I grew up a Jordan fan. Obviously, I always was fucking with the Suns, but I mean, I was born in 87, so everyone was a Bulls fan. And I remember that kind of being just like the first era of like, it was like you, Jamal Crawford. I want to say, was Jalen Rose on that team?
Nah, I got traded for Jalen.
You got traded for Jalen. That's what it was. Who else was on that team? I mean, because there was the Eddie Curry, Tyson, Chandler drafts.
I played with Eddie, Tyson. So the first year I got there with me, Elton Brand. It was Corey Benjamin was already there.
Corey Benjamin, yep.
Then like Will Perdue, Dickie Simpkins, Randy Brown, they was there.
So those guys were the leftovers from the old run.
They was there. And then the next year, we had like Jamal Crawford came.
Yep.
Marcus Fizer.
Marcus Fizer, yep.
Elton Brand was still there. And then the year after that, then Elton got traded. Tyson came, Eddie Curry came, Ron Mercer.
I remember Ron Mercer.
Right, Ron Mercer.
Yo, it's crazy because like if you think back to that Bulls like period of time, there was so much talent on those teams when you really think back and you think, damn, they had Elton Brand, they had you, they had some guys, Jamal Crawford. How hard was it getting drafted to the Bulls and being a part of the team that like was like the rebuilding process when Jordan statues outside and all
that was tough because I'm really competitive. That's one of the reasons I got traded because I didn't really care where my skill level was, but I couldn't take losing, and I knew that Jordan was somebody I always wanted to be like, so I would practice, and I really loved his defense, so I was always like trying to be like him on defense. But you know, in order to be successful there, you got to set the bar. Jordan set the bar, so okay, I'm going to try to reach that. But then when I don't reach it, you know, I wasn't able to deal with the adversity, like saying like, okay, you lost and it's cool. We're losing with me, it's not cool. Back then it wasn't cool. Versus now it's like,
no, we're tanking. There's a draft pick involved
and tanking, right?
Yeah,
and that's going. I didn't really understand that part of the business. I mean, I probably could have dealt with losing if we could have did something about it. But when you're tanking on purpose, that's a little difficult.
Yo, they had said that there was a point in time where you were in the NBA that you like chose to still live in Queensbridge in QB. Is that true?
Yeah, that was a gift and a curse. Like, because my mom, when I made it, I was like, Mom, we're gonna move out, go to Chicago. She's like, nah, I'm gonna stay in Queensbridge. So my mom stayed in Queensbridge for a couple years. And so I kind of redid the apartment in Queensbridge. But it was like I was trying to do something else. But my mom just wanted to stay in the hood. So, I mean, for the most part, I just stayed in the hood. And then, I was looking for an apartment back home in Queensbridge. I got my, I was always close by.
It's crazy because you think like you make it, you become a millionaire. You're supposed to kind of go the other way, right?
I mean, you should. You're not supposed to. It's things. It's
I feel like you're most vulnerable at home when you make it because that's where most of your haters are probably at. That's where,
not for me. I got a lot of love in my neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like other neighborhoods. Our neighborhood's a little different, but I think like when you make it like professional, whatever you're doing, music, sports, you have other opportunities. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
It's things you could do that you don't really need to you should be doing actually.
Right.
If somebody you're a rapper, you get a $5 million check, you should be thinking differently.
You should start thinking differently. Yeah.
There's an opportunity for you, right? So that's probably like not everyone sees that. Jay-Z, he from the hood, but he obviously had a huge plan. And when you start planning that early, I mean, sky's the limit, and that's kind of what I'm hoping more people do.
What happened for you to kind of change your mind state?
It was weird, man, because like I really like Queensbridge. I'm a very proud Queensbridge guy, So like for me, it was all about Queensbridge. Growing up, Nas, Mobb Deep, and we want to keep that going. You rep it, and it's all about us. That's it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then that was like a big part of my life. You know what I'm saying? Growing up, from when I got drafted, when I was in the NBA, and I wasn't coming into the NBA to make friends.
Right.
And I did. I mean, I got friends, but initially, my friends was back home. I'm coming here to just,
to work.
It's
your job.
To do what I got to do. Maybe lock somebody up and then like go back home. And go back home with my friends. And that's kind of, that was a gift and a curse. And I was really focused on my game and focused on my my hood. You know what I mean? Like that was it. And my family too, like my family, but I wasn't really, nothing else really came with that.
Growing up, obviously, Queensbridge is like, when we think of hip hop, we think of it as, I mean, Nas is my favorite MC ever. So like, Queensbridge was everything as a kid. That big QB chain, QB's Finest, the album, like
everything. Yeah.
How connected were you to like kind of what was going on in the hip hop scene, like coming up? Like obviously you were a star on the basketball scene. There's no secret you were probably going to make it to the league.
Right.
When you're that talented, you probably are granted access or opportunity to be around, maybe the Nas's, the Prodigies, or the Havocs of the world. Were you able to connect with that scene at all coming up? Well,
I was always in the streets anyway, playing basketball. I'll be out to 12, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. The hustlers is outside doing their thing. You know what I mean? And I'm outside doing my thing. You know what I mean? Playing basketball, and when I'm finished doing what I do, I'm going to chill with with the people on the block.
Yeah.
So I wasn't necessarily I wasn't like around a rap crowd, but we just family. So you might see Havoc walking out his building. My family, they did their time already, and I always ask them, could I tell some stories? I always ask anybody before I tell a story. But my family live on the same floor as Havoc.
Wow.
Havoc door right here, I think Havoc was 3A. And then ours was 3B or something like that, right back here. And my family moving product out the crib and stuff like that. But this is right, and then at that time, about 1993, Havoc and his brother, R.I.P. Killer B. I know Killer B when he wasn't Killer B. You know what I'm saying? When
he was just 93. I feel like that was even before Juvenile Hell, low key. That was,
for sure, yeah. I remember Killer B when he used to have a smile on his face. And then one day I got back home. One day, I was AAU. I get back home, I go back on the block. Everybody on the bench. I go to the block and I see Killer over there just like mean mugging. And I'm like, damn, something happened to Killer today. But then when I was asking my boy, he was like, nah, he's for the last year, you know, he's been like kind of just like on some gangster shit. So then I got accustomed to that killer, you know, and it was kind of awkward. And then shortly after that, he died shortly after that. But you know, I grew up on the Mobb Deep block. I'm from 10th Street though. I'm from the block. Then Nas block is like diagonal from mine. Then you got like MC Shan and Marley Marl. Of
course.
Then you got, you know, Mega, you know, on the 40 side.
Shout out to Cormega.
Then you got Nature.
Was Big Noid from QB?
Noid, hell yeah. Noid, him, my mom.
Screwball, remember Screwball?
Yeah, So my mom, Noid mom, and Twin mom. Infamous mom.
Shout out Big Twin.
They always best friends. So Twin would be spending the night at my house. Sometimes I remember we had a lot of mice in our house, so twins would come over. R.I.P. Big Twin. So the twin come over, they kill the mice for us. We be little kids running from the mice. Wake Twin up. He kill a mice. Noy to be spending the night. We'll go to their house, and then Screwball Hostile, R.I.P. Hostile.
Yeah,
that's my brother-in-law. He got a baby by my sister. 3 babies.
I remember that album they came out with. I want to say. With the fucking, it was like the cartoon.
Screwball.
The ball. Yeah, that shit was hard.
That's one of the greatest albums ever.
I had that shit when I was a kid. That's one of the most slept on albums too.
In Queensbridge. I'm not talking about like in the history.
No,
of
I just
hip-hop.
mean even in hip hop, people sleep on that album.
album's incredible.
Yeah,
but if you're not, it's like me listening to like, you know, somebody from Houston, underground.
It's some underground QB shit.
Right,
Yeah.
it's underground. It's one of the greatest QB albums. Like Nas obviously has the greatest QB album, and I'm pretty sure his album. But then you got Mobb Deep, so you could easily say Nas is like his top 3 albums is 1, 2, and 3. But you can also make an argument that like
I don't know. I think the Infamous is probably. I would take the Infamous over everything except Illmatic and
Stillmatic was pretty
Stillmatic,
amazing.
and it was written.
That's what I'm saying. So you got
the Infamous is 3 or 4 because the Infamous is. Damn, it's a
perfect ones. It's incredible. It's incredible.
And the Infamous, I feel like probably even if we're just talking about an album based on QB, it's probably higher than Stillmatic as far as just what was being talked about.
Well, when you got Ether is
I just mean in terms of like the energy of like. Queensbridge.
That's true.
Because the Infamous had that energy that like felt like they recorded that shit in the projects.
Yeah, no, for
Nas
sure.
had already made it. Stillmatic was already.
Illmatic.
No, I'm talking about Stillmatic. Yeah, I would put Infamous over Stillmatic. We're talking about just like Queensbridge. If we're in a bubble.
About Queensbridge, like, there's a lot of great albums. Obviously, Illmatic.
Yeah,
was incredible. It's an incredible.
My favorite album ever.
That's an incredible album. Then you got then maybe the Infamous.
The Infamous is so.
Maybe Infamous, but then you got Stillmatic.
It was written too, man.
It was written. So then you got Murder Music. So I think like
Murder Music was amazing.
Infamous is either like 2 or 3, right? It's like 2 or 3.
Yeah. Shout out to Mobb Deep.
You know what I'm saying? Then you got Screwball. Then you got I Am 3 album. They got one of the great. Then you got The Realness with Mega.
I was gonna say even HNIC. Shout out to Prodigy.
HNIC.
Keep It Thorough is one of the best beats ever.
This is what I'm saying. So shout out to Alchemist.
Shout out to Alchemist. What was it about your come up? Was it your mom? Because you could have easily, like you said, you were outside playing basketball till midnight while people were hustling. You're obviously running in those circles. You could have went the other way easily. Like, what was it about just your dedication, maybe your upbringing, that you were able to stick with basketball? Because we always hear people who have hoop dreams and then they end up getting caught up in the system or catching a case. Like, how did you push through all that?
It was difficult, you know what I mean? Because my friends, a lot of my friends we grow up 10 years old. They turn 11. They doing something different. Next one turned 12. He doing something different. It's like, damn. You know what I'm saying? And then you still tied. So then you getting in some trouble. Then it's like, okay, if I do this again, I'm probably gonna go to jail. So I had to make those decisions to focus on basketball and really, really lock in. So many people around was going to jail, and then some people were actually dying. Once you get in some beef, it's hard to navigate your way out.
True.
So you're gonna navigate your way out. Either you're gonna do a cordial, or somebody gonna let something fly, and then somebody gonna get shot, and that's what you don't want. But it's just so hard. So I was trying to stay cool. And then also, like, a lot of my ball players, was gangster. You know what I'm saying? So even that side was hard. Because then you go into the game with gangsters sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And then it was just like, how do you focus on basketball? We had one of our guys, Kenny Ito. They call him 30, sometimes 40, because that's what he would do. He'd get 30, sometimes 40.
It's a great nickname.
Unbelievable. 30-something.
30 sometimes 40 is my nickname. I love that.
It started out 30, sometimes 40, but he got older. It was 30-something.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But he was playing with Rod Strickland at Oak Hill.
Yeah.
Then he got shot in the groin. He had scholarships. You know what I mean?
So many what ifs, right?
Yeah, it was crazy. Like, he was dope. You know what I mean? Then Mike Chatfield, who was dope. You know, he got shot up. Just a baller. You know what I mean? And so it was just like those case studies, man. It was just like, how do you navigate away from this?
And you were able to do it, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. I was able to, just stay. I was able to stay away from that, but then also stay in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because for me, it felt like I knew I was going pro, and I know the history of Queensbridge. It's such a rich history. So for me, it was just like, how do I like inspire and be cool? You know what I'm saying? And
not desert your roots and not
desert, not really pick sides. Even though I grew up on the block,
right.
I had my own crew of friends who might even have beef with other people. But like, how do we see beyond that? But still, still represent your people where you from and your little clique. But at the same time, like, how do you move past, potential death? Potential beef, but there's still things happening right now.
That's some crazy shit, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy. After the Bulls obviously got traded to the Pacers, the Pacers run was probably one of the biggest what ifs in NBA history.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like you guys at a certain point in time had the best team in the league.
Yeah, for sure.
Top to bottom. It seemed extremely like, like I'm a Suns fan, so one of my what ifs is the year that
Steve Nash broke
his nose and Amari and Boris Diaw jumped off the bench. Yeah, that was a rough year for us. But I think in terms of the Pacers, like, I felt like everything had kind of lined up for you guys to kind of have like a run as a unit. And I did watch the Netflix documentary, which obviously
Jermaine O'Neal's doc. It was amazing.
It was an incredible documentary. A lot of insight on that team and just you too. But outside of the championships with the Lakers, right? What was what was the best team you ever were a part of? Let's just exclude Kobe and the Lakers, because obviously, you got hardware for those.
The best team I've ever played on, it probably Kobe's just incredible, but I think the team with Yao Ming. Like, that was I just never seen nothing like it. Like, that guy is different. Playing with him was so easy to win.
And this is like Yao.
So easy to win.
People forget, like, Yao Ming had a very short run, but when he was Yao Ming, that motherfucker was
I've never played with anyone as dominant.
So was T-Mac on that team as well?
T-Mac was on that team.
That's another big what if, right?
Shane Battier,
T-Mac.
That team was Dikembe Mutombo.
Was Skip to My Lou on the Rafer Alston was on that team.
Rafer was nice, an NBA point guard.
He was sick.
For sure. I never knew that it would translate. But it translated.
He was like one of the first street guys who I would watch on A1 mixtapes who actually like did real shit in the league.
He was a real street dude.
Right.
Yeah, Rafer.
You and Rafer on the same team had to be great. The stories you guys would probably share.
But when I got to Houston, it was more about business. Like, Rafer is he's about his business when it comes to basketball. Like, I didn't know that about him. So we didn't get a chance to chat much.
Right.
I'm going to practice. I'm going to the airport. I'm going to the hotel. I'm going out sometimes, but for the most part, I'm just doing that. So you don't get a chance to share as many stories as I would have liked to share with Rafer. But, I grew up playing with him. Watching him. Idolized him. And then to play on his team was incredible.
And then Yao Ming. So just talk about Yao Ming. You were saying a little bit earlier, like, what was it like having Yao Ming as a teammate? The guy made the All-Star team every year. Every year he played, he got voted in. But, like, he was an incredible player. Sometimes I think we forget how good Yao Ming was and how good the T-Mac Yao Ming 1-2 punch with all those role players around him was.
Yeah.
But what was Yao Ming like as a teammate?
Great teammate. all the teammates are different, but Yao it was unique because he was such a star, and I thought I was gonna see something different. Like maybe Yao have the big boy Rolls Royce, you know what I mean? Like maybe security and all this other stuff, and maybe don't practice. Total opposite. Humble. Coach Rick Adelman would have to tell him stop running because we would do these running drills after practice, and Yao would do every drill. Yao didn't sit out no drills, but that's not typical. You can ask anybody right now on teams when it's time to do suicides. People that's smaller than Yao. Yao ran every single suicide when he didn't have to, when he should not have been running.
Because he might have had a longer career.
And we needed him. We need his energy. But Yao's like, nah, if the bench player is going to do it, I'm going to do it. That's Yao Ming.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
How special was T-Mac?
T-Mac was special. When I got with him, he was hurt. He basically retired.
He had already been kind of like down.
His back and his knee was really bad.
Yeah. Was he hard to defend when you had to defend him on the other side?
It was really hard, man. I had some lucky days, I think, against T-Mac. I had some lucky days against T-Mac, but when T-Mac was on, it was really difficult. I mean, he was like a little smaller than Durant, maybe 3 inches smaller than Durant, but 2 inches taller than me. You know what I'm saying? And Smooth got left hand, right hand, left fade, right fade, 3-ball, could drive, could pass. You know what I'm saying? T-Mac, if he didn't get hurt, I felt like he would have had a really good career. I feel like he would have had a career like Kobe, if he didn't get hurt early.
Yeah, for sure.
He got hurt in 2009.
He got hurt super early.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a beast.
Maybe 2007, he was probably hurt.
Obviously, we always think of you as one of the best on-ball defenders of all time. You are, a legendary defender of the basketball. You were the guy whoever the best player was on the other team, you would take him. Who was the hardest player you had to defend?
And LeBron.
Early LeBron, too.
Well, actually, I think Jordan was the toughest, man. So Jordan, the reason I say Jordan. We're
talking about Wizards Jordan?
Shit, yeah. The first year was his Jordan, not his last year.
Yeah, no, because when he came back mid-season on the Wizards, he still had it.
Yeah,
he had a 50-point game.
He was there for the whole season.
I thought he came back mid-season the first year.
He played 2.5 seasons with the Wizards. So the first year was mid-season. The next year was
you're right. That's
the next year was the full season, and then that last year
was when things got rough.
He's averaged he was not Jordan, but that first year he came back, he averaged 25.
No, I remember.
People forget that.
People be forgetting. And Jordan that team almost. I remember they had like it was like him and Rip Hamilton and like Jaleel White, and it was a rough team. I used to play with them on 2K all the time.
Yeah, they was not. I mean, but then Jordan's not running like he used to be. Right. So
even then, Jordan was tough to defend.
I mean, the thing about Jordan was you knew what he was going to do. You knew what he was going to do, and he gonna get you up. He gonna pull up. He gonna go left, pull up, go fade right, and you knew it was coming. We're like LeBron. When I first started guarding LeBron, I didn't really know what he was going to do. And he was quite successful, but it was still like, it wasn't as predictable, which made it a little harder. But Jordan, I knew exactly what he gonna do. And then Kobe was pretty difficult too. I mean, those guys are. But if I had to give it to one, I would probably say Jordan. And maybe tied with LeBron and Kobe.
LeBron and Kobe. I mean, because were you with the Bulls when you had to defend Jordan?
I was with the Bulls and one time Indiana.
Oh wow, that's crazy. Now I got to defend this guy. The whole city's fucking with him. You've had some like legendary rivalries throughout your career. Who would you say was your biggest rival on the court? Which player? Where you guys, every time you guys freaking got on the court, it was something. It was some pushing, some shoving.
Well, it's crazy. Like I never had a chance to let my rivals mature, because when I was in Indiana, the Celtic rival was becoming something because they swept us one year. Then we beat them and we swept them. So I beat Paul more than he beat me in the playoffs. But Paul was one of my rivals because it was it was very consistent throughout my career playing against Paul. But then with Kobe, in my prime, I got suspended. Mm-hmm. So I didn't see Kobe that year. And then the next year I got suspended again. People forget I got suspended 2 years in a row for 3 months. But then I went to Sacramento. Then I saw Kobe, but I didn't see Paul anymore. And then the Ben Wallace rival was great. That was just like hard work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because both of you guys were hard-nosed players, blue-collar players. Yeah.
So that was probably for me it was my biggest rival, because how hard he worked, and I didn't really like anybody working harder than me. And he was getting Defensive Player of the Year. You know what I mean?
And he got the rings.
and he got the rings. You know what I mean? So, and he's a Hall of Famer. So for me, that was like somebody that I.
And you guys will always be tied together because of what happened.
Probably because of the brawl.
Yeah.
And also because of that era, he got Defensive Player of the Year, 2002. Mm-hmm. 2003, I led the league in flagrant fouls, and technical fouls. So the media wasn't messing with me. But I finished 2 in. I think I finished second in MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. But he got it again. Then I got it the next year. Then the next year I was going, but nobody can tell. I got suspended.
Between you and Rasheed Wallace, who had more technical fouls in your career?
He did for sure.
Because I feel like it was.
I probably had more flagrants.
Yeah,
but he had more technicals. I don't think he has more flagrants than me.
Do you think you could have played in today's NBA? Because I feel like today's NBA is a little bit softer. Flagrant fouls, I think
I could have. I think every player. Every era has a player that's like a wild card. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't know who it is this era.
You think it's Pat Beverly?
I mean, Pat Beverly is a very he's an aggressive player. Like I don't think he's a dirty. He did
some dirty shit to Chris Paul last year.
He hurt Westbrook.
Well, he nailed Chris Paul in the back last year.
I mean, he's an aggressive player. Yeah. I don't think he's as aggressive as I was because I think he's more like control and discipline.
Do you think you were a dirty player?
I was
at a certain point in time, maybe.
Well, I was very physical. It would seem dirty, but I would play with, like, I would use my fouls. So if we got 6 fouls, I knew how to play with 5 fouls. So every game I'm using my fouls, depending on the bonus situation.
Right.
But every game I'm using my fouls. Every game I'm not going to let you post up. So, and I'll do anything, and it's up to the refs to call it. I think I was more than dirty. I was just really strong. So it was really nothing people could do. With the exception of a few people.
I remember as a kid, I always used to think like there was a couple of players in the NBA who I would not want to fight in real life. You were one of them. Ben Wallace was one of them. In your opinion, during your career, which basketball player had some hands that like not a lot of people know about?
Well, it's some people that got real talent. Like, Shaq is also a talented fighter. Also,
Shaq got body slammed by Charles Barkley when I was a child.
Shaq is a different breed. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Like, shout out to Williams just beat up Frank Gore in a boxing match.
I saw that. I did not see that coming. He looked good.
Yeah, I thought Frank Gore was going to do it for sure.
I think the greatest fighter is the kid Johnson from the Heat.
Yes, because he's he's a
real fighter.
James Johnson, right?
James Johnson.
Yeah, he's got like black belts.
Yeah, he's a real fighter.
Yeah, I think he's been just getting signed. His career's been going on as long as it has because they're like, if we just need to throw someone in to eat up those fouls.
Yeah, but he's a good player actually.
Yeah, no, he's had a great career. Talk about your Lakers run, man. The one thing that I thought was dope about the documentary that came out. Obviously, you have your documentary that came out about your life, but the Netflix documentary got a lot of publicity last year, was when you got the ring, you kind of trying to make peace with the Indiana situation. When you got interviewed, I think it was post-game after the finals had ended, right? Do you feel like your Lakers run was kind of like redemption for you as a player and just kind of redemption for you as a career? For
sure. Lakers gave me a big opportunity. I got a call from my agent at about 12:01 on the deadline. I mean, actually, when the start of the free agency, said the Lakers wanted to pick me, wanted to sign me. Next morning, I had breakfast or lunch with Dr. Buss, and we just talked a little bit about it. Kenny said he knew how my career was. He thought that I was going to, becoming a better and more stable player, and that I could help him win. And it happened, and it rejuvenated my career because the reason it did, I always thought I'd be a champion. I won everywhere. In high school, New York City, 27-0. Wow. AAU ball, 67-1.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, I won everywhere. So in the NBA, it was like my plan was to win. But because I wasn't ready for it at the time, I was
Plus, you also get drafted into weird situations. Like, you got drafted into a Bulls team that wasn't ready to win. They were actively rebuilding. Like,
they were actively rebuilding.
Had you maybe got drafted to, like, I don't know,
San Antonio
or Detroit or something,
Detroit,
it would have been different.
It would have been, it would have been a little different.
We always think, like, what would have happened if Melo would have went to the Pistons instead of Dario, Yeah,
that would have been big. But, that wasn't the real issue. The issue was, like, me. I personally led, myself to not winning more games, playing more games, from being suspended and getting ejected, I always tell people, when you get ejected, that's one less point that you're going to have. It's one less rebound. And when you total all the numbers up at the end of your career, you're gonna be where you're at. So that's why I always tell people, if you could play a game, play the game. Like even with Ben Simmons, he missed so much games. That's like 2,000 points.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, at the end of his career, we're gonna think about Kawhi.
Points.
Kawhi's career totals are very low compared to who he's compared to. Because of the rings he has. But if you look at his career totals compared to like his counterparts, they're a lot lower because he's missed so much time for injuries.
I mean, but his is unique because injuries.
But Ben should, obviously
Ben was more just, it was a mental injury.
You've been through like your issues with just mental health, which I think you were kind of one of the first players that kind of embraced like facing that. When you saw the Ben Simmons thing playing out recently, obviously he just got traded to the Nets. It looks like he's going to be playing soon. Did you kind of have any sort of like, did you kind of relate to what he could be going through, or how did you kind of feel about the Ben Simmons thing?
Well, he's not the first player to go through something since I retired, or even since I've been thinking about like what players go through. That's one of the reasons I started to come out. But that situation was really unique because, like, I wanted him to play.
For sure.
I personally wanted to see him play. But then I also understand I wanted to retire when I was 23. So I kind of understand a little bit on not wanting to play or something getting in the way. Like, nothing should ever get in the way of you playing. I think it's a way to handle. Like, if you want to get traded, I think it's a way to handle it. Because I handle it the wrong way. So I'm thinking about it.
You took those wounds for him, kind of like, like you said, you handled at certain point in times in your career, you handle things the wrong way.
Yeah, I handle it the wrong way.
There's a way to handle shit, right?
Yeah, it's a way. I think for every circumstance in the NBA is a way to handle it. Like, for example, if you don't want to be on the team, you can talk to your agent, talk to the owner or the general manager, and be like, listen, I don't want to be here. I don't want to make a big deal out of it. So I'm going to play, but let's really move me. But what happens is, what if the fans start loving you? Right? What if you playing well and the fans start loving you, right? And then now the general manager going to look crazy by trading you. Right. Because y'all don't have no issues. But like, how do you really handle it? Or maybe you can say, hey, I don't want to be here, but still
play the game. Still be a professional, I guess, right?
I mean,
your teammate.
I couldn't tell someone to be professional because I wasn't professional. So I don't like to really say things that I wasn't.
Yeah, you had some pretty unprofessional moments.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I don't never like to call nobody like be professional. But I can say be professional, but I wouldn't want to say like, you're not professional and just leave it there. I would like to like explain why I think like you should be more professional or why it would benefit you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Versus like criticizing.
Yeah, you've been through it.
Yeah, I've done it.
Yeah. Did you ever request formally a trade while you were in the league?
I did it.
Or actively try to get up out of somewhere? Like
unprofessionally, yeah. A lot of times.
Was that in Indiana?
In Chicago, I pretty much forced that one. Indiana, I was very unprofessional by coming out in the media and saying I want to be traded. Sacramento, no. Just those two teams. Actually, the Knicks was the Knicks also.
The Knicks. I forgot you played for the Knicks.
I played for the Knicks at the end of my career. I didn't request the trade, but I was like kind of upset.
Wait, so you left the Pacers, and before you went to the Lakers, you were on the Kings for a run?
For like almost 4 years, I think.
I don't even remember those 4 years.
Yeah, that was some really big years for me with Sacramento.
Because that was like after the Weber-Peja era. Who was even on that team? I can't even remember the Kings after Chris Webber.
So when I got there, they was in Kings was like in 12th place, something like that. I get there.
You did have a crazy run on the Kings.
We had a nice run on the team.
You were like the best team on the best player, low key.
It was a couple of us
on that team.
I was probably the most diverse player, but we had Brad Miller, who was very effective.
Brad Miller, number Mike 40, Mike Bibby. Mike Bibby was still hanging around. Brad Miller was a double-double.
Brad Miller was incredible.
Just a strong white guy with a headband.
Yeah. Brad had no abs, no chest muscles, no arm muscles. But he could run,
and he could body. He could box out.
He could box out. He might dunk.
I think he made one All-Star game.
He did.
He made one.
Hell of a player, man.
Yeah, Brad Miller.
But very, very cerebral. Like, more smart
I remember Brad
than
Miller.
skills.
I remember he was on the Bulls and the Kings, right? He was on the Bulls, right? Yeah.
I played with him. I played with Brad with the Bulls, Indiana, and Sacramento.
That's so crazy.
I follow Brad everywhere.
You know, obviously, we think about your time with Kobe. You've talked extensively about your relationship with Kobe. Do you feel like your time around Kobe made you a better person?
I think it made me, I'm not going to say a better person. I think my time around Kobe, it made me more centered. And it may be better, but it just made me more centered because he was focusing on the championship. And he was so stable mentally, you know, whereas I wasn't. When you talk about sports and sports therapy, focusing on the game. Right. He was so stable where it made me do things being a little uncomfortable. Focus. And focus from training camp to championship. And go through the ups and downs. Adversity. Like, how do you get through adversity? So from a sports perspective, he made me a really centered player, which I really appreciate. What was
like advice wise or just talk wise? Can you remember like one of the better talks you had with Kobe? Was it maybe after a game? Did he have to pull you off to the side and say, "Hey, look, you're doing this. We got to do this," or like?
Yeah, man. I mean, we spent a lot of time together.
Of course,
we were on the court.
Starting
together. So, but for the most part, I mean. I think we had a few talks, but I was pretty cerebral. You know, you give me the offense, the strategy on defense. There's nothing really much to say to me. You know,
do you think there was any misconceptions we think about Kobe? Because we always hear he was a tough teammate.
He was tough. He was tough, but you know, when you outwork someone, you know, I didn't really experience that. Derek Fisher probably didn't experience that. But some new players who don't understand that the work that it takes, I mean, he gonna let you have it. Like you gotta really step up your work ethic, you know, your confidence. You're not gonna be getting a lot of touches. So when you get the ball, you need to be fully locked in.
Who do you think on those Lakers teams that you were on? Because there were some young players. Like Andrew Bynum was young, and was that? I'm trying to think who else was what was the 3-point? Sasha was a young
we had a young team.
Man, there was a lot of young players on that roster. Like who was Kobe the hardest on?
I feel like him and Sasha probably had most of the going back and forth, the join. But I think when I got there, Sasha became a championship type of player. But I could imagine when I wasn't there in the beginning, I think Sasha might have been like, you know, didn't understand the work ethic, and you got to really buy in.
You got to buy in. It's not going to work.
Yeah, you can't bring anything however you are. It ain't like that here. And I think, but when I got there, that team was full of hard-nosed gangsters.
Right.
You know, so it was easy.
Hey, we got to stop the interview real quick, man. Shout out to our sponsors at MyBookie. Now, if you're into sports like me and you like to win money, what are we doing? Go to MyBookie right now, man. Let's get in on some of this action. MyBookie. Go sign up. Get the double deposit bonus. This is what this means. When you sign up at MyBookie right now, all right, whatever money you deposit, they're going to match it. They're going to double it for you up to $1,000, but you got to use the keyword, the promo code Bootleg. That's right. Use that promo code Bootleg when you sign up at MyBookie. They're going to double your deposit. Listen, March Madness is coming up. My favorite time of the year to gamble is March Madness. It is so much fun. You don't got to know a fucking thing about college basketball. It is just fucking turned up. I love to go to, listen, March Madness. That's really all you need to know. Get your account before then. Thank me later. Also, NBA action is finally back. Throw down some futures. Who do you think is going to win the MVP? Joel Embiid, Jokic, Devin Booker, a little dark horse. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the Suns. You got to go to MyBookie, though. Sign up. Get down right now, all right? Get double your money, double your deposit. You put in $1,000, they're going to match that, give you a whole nother $1,000 to gamble with. MyBookie.ag. Use the promo code bootleg, double your deposit. Right now, Metta, you were just talking about how you got a game tonight. You're still running. You're still active. What is like 2022? What are you doing? How are you spending your post NBA years, man?
Yeah, man. So we got our Test Management Group, which is my management company that I've been working on for quite some time. So that's kind of keeping me really busy. And so we have a sports component, which you mentioned in sports. So we have like a tech company that help basketball players get exposure. Sign up to the app. We help find and facilitate games and try to get you more exposure, women and men. So that's been something that's been taking up my time a lot. It's called X vs. X Sports. Then we also have a business management company where we do like taxes, reconciliations, and different things.
It's a busy time of the year for that. I just get my taxes.
Yeah, for sure. But we got like top boxes that sign to us.
So you pretty much kind of help with like managing money. Let me ask you.
I invested in the company.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not day to day with that company. I just invested in it. But then we signed Anthony Munguia, the boxer. Yeah. Canelo is a client of ours.
Shout out to Canelo.
We had Tariq Black, Larry Sanders for a little bit. Corey Joseph, I think we still have him right now. Some billionaire real estate guys. So that company is doing well. You know, I'm really excited about that one. Then I have a couple others.
You've obviously been a millionaire for a long time. What is a lesson about money that you've learned that you would like to try to, kind of spread? Because a lot of people don't understand just financial literacy in general, especially when you get that much money. You know what I'm saying? Sure. What's something that you had to kind of learn the hard way, or some game you could give us just about financial literacy? For sure,
man. I think like one would say, find people you can trust. But then you even look at some of the incidents that's happened with some pros where like these some people took buckets of money. So it's like, how do you find somebody you trust? You're working with the smartest people in suits, right? So, but find somebody you trust, but also do your own diligence. If you can pay some of your own bills, do it to start. If say you're a first round pick or like a new artist, okay, maybe you're going to be making 100 million, 200, 300, 400, 500 million. Yes, this is happening. But I think in the beginning stages, you should be doing a lot of it on your own. You should know something about your taxes, know something about bill pay. You should know something about diversifying your portfolio. Sometimes we have so much cash sitting in the bank. It's like, we're not going to spend all this cash today, or you will spend it, but
spend it on the wrong things.
Right. But you can actually take a chunk of that and put it to work. You're not going to spend, $100 million.
Yeah, go buy an apartment building or like that. I feel like a lot of young NBA players, there's a lot of people who kind of, financially are predatory towards some of these young athletes and artists. Like when it comes to, did you ever have anyone try to get in your pockets or try to mismanage your situation?
I had good people, man. I think I had good people around me. I'm very independent. So for me, I always wanted to do my own thing. Start my own management company. I wanted my own shoes. You know what I mean? So, but, I think, for the most part, I think it's a huge opportunity. I mean, these athletes are corporations. It's like new corporations within a day. A great return on a company, or you making $2 million a year. You're like, oh, I made $2 million this year.
Right.
That's great. These guys is making 50 million, 10 mil, 20 mil. Like, that's a corporation.
That's some real shit, man. That is literally a corporation. Yeah, in a year. Think about the news. Yeah, there's some James Harden's about to opt into $47 million. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
That's 5 corporations.
What was your biggest year like that you had in the NBA as far as just?
The most I've made was 40. I made 40 twice.
Wow.
But my skill level would request more, but because I was getting so much trouble, every time it was time to get more or max.
You got two $40 million contracts?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I always got the minimum.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm grateful.
Yeah.
I'm grateful.
Hell yeah.
And I'm not, like when I got drafted, I working at Circuit City. Like
shout out to Circuit City.
I applied for a job at Circuit City when I got drafted. You know what I'm saying? So I was never like needed a lot.
Okay.
I've never had like a Bentley. I never had a Rolls. You know what I'm saying? But so for me, I was fortunate enough to be like that type of person. But I also wish like I would have never made those mistakes because it was times where teams say, "Hey, we're gonna max you out," you know. But then you get in trouble.
I was gonna say, do you ever feel like you were more focused on music and other like was music ever? Did you ever make being an artist a priority over being an NBA player?
For sure. When you're in the studio, I got 500 songs.
That's a lot.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And then like I would say 300 of them, or maybe 200, 400, not finished. So, but I got 100 of them that I was in the studio 16 hours. Because, you know, it takes like about 14, 16 hours to...
Because you were extremely active as far as just putting out music.
I put out 3 albums my last season of my career.
Now, you put out a lot of music.
Nobody know about it because I took it off.
And then what's funny is like we always think of like NBA players who have tried to do the label thing, like KD for a while had an artist he was working with. Melo, Cassidy was signed to Carmelo Anthony for a little bit. Amari Stoudemire had a label.
Everybody, they love music. It's sports.
Hip hop and basketball are so synonymous with each other. Yeah. But I do feel like as an artist, you probably had one of the more like active runs. Like
I was very active. Some people were. Some people kind of discredit that, but I was active for a long time. But
no, you were, and you were putting out music with like a lot of like, legends.
So I was putting out music with a lot of people. But one of the things it was a couple things I wish I did with music. Like when I retired, I was going to do 1 of 4 things: full-time music, and I actually thought about this. Full-time music. I studied for my Series 7, so I was studying for my Series 7 management. What I'm doing now, or marketing. And then as I was going through it, the pros and cons of music was being up late, being in the because I was going to do it. I was going to give 110%.
Yeah.
So I chose to go back to UCLA and went back to school. I went back to Concordia Irvine. But when I was putting out music, shit, I got Champion sold 150,000.
That's crazy.
You know, that was my most successful record. And I was engineering.
Most artists nowadays can't sell 150,000 units. Just to be honest. I mean, it's a different time, obviously.
Different time, different circumstance.
But 150,000 units is a big win for a lot of artists.
For me, it's good. I appreciate that one. I think I should have. I would have did better if I would have had a writer. Now I look back at it, I would have wished I would have had a writer, A&R, because I was doing records with everybody. I mean, I was in position to win. Yeah. But I don't think the operational side of music.
Well, and it's a hard mountain to get over to be taken serious when people think of you as an all-time great basketball player.
That's true, but being from Queensbridge and my whole story.
No, you had a crazy story. You had the street cred. You had all that. But I just mean in terms of like, it's hard for people to like look at someone. I think Damian has done a good job.
He does a good job, yeah.
He's done a good job. Obviously, back in the day, Shaq had some platinum records.
Shaq is obviously...
Shaq, for a while, was...
Shaq, Damian, Iman Shumpert. I like
Iman's album is dope. Iman came and freestyled and fucking caught a body.
He's incredible. I'm not a freestyler. I'm more like emotional, you know what I mean? Right. So I like, when I get into the booth, I'm just thinking about something that happened.
And then you write it down.
And that's it. It's more like... But when I'm on stage, I'm like fully in. On stage, I think like, you know, I'm fully in G'd up mode on stage. Like I'm ready.
Yeah. Hey, what's crazy is we always think about the finals that we never got to see, and that is LeBron versus Kobe. We never got to see that.
That's crazy.
It's wild to think that never happened. Being on those teams at that time, how like actually real was like the Kobe LeBron rivalry in terms of just like, you know, we their Sports Center, people talk on like Skip Bayless, these guys were talking at the time. Like what was that something that you think Kobe actually kind of was like, okay, I'm still that motherfucker, even though everyone's trying to say
the year we went to the finals?
Yeah. Just in general, just like
oh yeah, Kobe wanted that matchup for sure. I'm sure LeBron wanted that matchup too. I mean, we forget how tough LeBron is. But I think Kobe for sure wanted that matchup, and he would talk about it. But then they was actually the #1 seed that year, but then they lost
to the Magic.
Right, they lost to the Magic. Yeah. They was the #1 seed. So when we got to the finals, we had home court advantage against Boston. You know what I mean? So that they would have had home court advantage on us if that finals would have happened, which would have been like not to our favor.
But you said Kobe wanted that shit for sure.
Yeah, because legacy. You know what I mean?
That's a legacy moment.
Yeah, everybody. That's legacy. It would have been legacy for me too. If we would play,
you would have been guarding him.
I'd have been guarding him. If we win, like those are moments that you gotta calculate and try to accomplish. But it didn't happen. So
right.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we think back to like the Magic team that made the finals.
Yeah.
Was kind of one of those teams, like Dwight not making the top 75 players to me was kind of crazy. Because for like 10 years, he was the best center in the league.
For sure.
In the land of,
he was more dominant than a lot of these players that right now.
Like he took the Magic to the finals. Right.
Right.
And this is a East that had KG, Ray Allen.
Right.
And Paul Pierce on the Celtics and the LeBron Cavaliers.
He did exactly what LeBron did.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah.
From playing a different way.
Yeah, playing a different way.
Very dominant.
Obviously, the Celtics series are legendary. What was your favorite finals to play in?
I only played in one.
You only played in one?
A lot of people think I played in more.
I thought you played in more.
I know I was that type of player. You would have thought I would have been in the finals more. Everybody say, how many rings you got?
I don't know why I thought you were two years with the Lakers in the finals. No,
I just played one time. I got it.
And won.
Got lucky, and I'm grateful.
2010. That was 2010, right?
2010.
Wow. That Suns series.
2010.
Yo, how tough were the Suns in 2010? Because again,
they were pretty tough. They were small.
They were a small team. Besides Robin Lopez, it was kind of.
They were very, very small, but they could shoot.
Yeah.
That was they could just shoot that rock. And then when you got Steve Nash, we had to go up against that year, Chris Paul and Steve Nash.
Was that Chris Paul on the Hornets?
Hornets.
Yeah, Hornets CP, but probably David West.
Man, that was tough.
David West is a tough guy. We're talking about guys who could fight. David West, one of those guys.
David is tough.
David West is a tough dude.
Yeah, he's a tough guy for sure.
Who reminds you of yourself the most right now in the league?
In my prime, my prime, Kawhi. Playing at my best. Probably Kawhi, because he lock you up, and he can play offense. You know what I'm saying? And also he's not gonna always get 40 and 40 and 40.
Right.
He gonna get 28, 34, 27, but be the best player on the floor.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? Which is like, I can relate. I never had 40 in the NBA. But I was the go-to guy on multiple teams.
Yeah, you were. Yeah.
But I was spending so much time on defense, so. Kawhi is somebody who I really like.
Do you think, in the league has changed so much with 3-point shooting? Obviously, the Warriors kind of revolutionized the way kids grow up watching basketball. Do you think defense has kind of gotten lost in the kind of, when we were kids, when I was watching you or watching, the era before you, when you were watching basketball, defense was a very important part of the game.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it feels like it's so secondary that like the league, like we'll see some of these scores, especially this year. The scores are crazy.
Yeah.
Like putting up 130 is nothing now. Where like back in the day, if someone put up 130, you'd be like, "What the fuck?"
Well, they took the hands off, so
right.
You can't touch as much. So you don't really have a reason to love defense. You know what I'm saying? Right now, it's like when I was growing up, it was a reason why I was doing my defensive slides in the summertime while I was in NBA, while I was a pro. Because I had to stop someone, and it was aggressive. And, our last game against Detroit, it was a 73 to 69.
Crazy.
To go to the finals.
That's so crazy.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a college score.
To go to the finals.
That is so crazy.
Most of the games I played in the playoffs were all low scores. Most of the
That's
games.
real.
The Lakers would beat Boston 83-79.
Wow. You can't even think about that. What do you think is the biggest misconception about you?
Man, I don't really know, man. There's a lot, but I just try to move on because we're human, you know what I mean? So a misconception to me is like an opinion for somebody else have, and it's fine, but it's definitely, I'm definitely a product of my environment, and I love my environment, so I'm not going to say there's any misconception. It's real, it is what it is.
Hey, we got to stop the podcast, man, real quick. Appreciate y'all for watching. Really mean it. Subscribe, like, leave a comment, even if you're one of those dickheads who leaves a comment. Yo, why are you always interrupting the guests? Because it's my fucking podcast. And I don't know. I like to talk too. Anyway, hey, shout out to Odd Socks, man. They've been our sponsor from day one. We go hard for Odd Socks always, man. Literally go hard for my wife, and I go hard for Odd Socks in different and same kinds of ways. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes I go hard in Odd Socks. They do make boxers. You feel me? Anyway, listen, they got the ill licenses. They got the Breaking Bad. They got the WWE. They got Mountain Dew. They got fucking Swedish Fish, fucking Kool-Aid, Pez, you know, Cheech and Chong. What are you into? The Odd Socks basics are the boys, though. That's my favorite. You know, you get yourself a nice pair of just basics. They're comfy. It's like walking on clouds. All right. So you can save 20% off if you go to oddsocksofficial.com. Use the promo code Bootleg Kev. That's one word, Bootleg Kev, all together at checkout. 20% off oddsocksofficial.com. Go show some love and let's get back to the interview. Who's your GOAT? Who do you think is the greatest of all time?
Bill Russell.
Bill Russell.
For sure.
Over Kobe, over LeBron, over MJ.
Bill got 11 championships, and Bill game would have translated to today, because he was the most athletic big. Yeah, if you put Bill Russell in today's game, he dominated. He could block shots. He gonna rebound everything. He faster than the guards.
How about this, LeBron or Jordan?
You're gonna throw Bill Russell out, huh? That's a tough one. Well,
you guarded both?
But this is the thing. Jordan never lost in the finals. LeBron has.
LeBron's been to 10 of them, though, right?
But LeBron's been to 10. Jordan skipped out on 2. Mm-hmm. Now, one would argue that Houston would have won. All right, cool. When Jordan won his last one, he left. So that was we talking 9 rings. We talking 9. When he came back averaging 25, he was clearly able to still play. We talking the same type of
like
career.
if he would have stayed, they would have beat the Spurs, because that was the I think that was the
lockout year.
Yeah, that was the lockout.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, for me, it's just like, but now you talk about LeBron. LeBron did everything it takes to be the best, because he stayed healthy. Mm-hmm. He's still playing.
Yeah, I think it's 19 years he's been in the league now.
19 years.
And the stuff he's doing, he's having statistically maybe his best year.
Statistically, he's not moving a lot.
Right, but he's still like
he's playing high level offense.
It's crazy.
His offense is sick.
It's insane.
But with that being said,
you got to pick one.
That's really hard, because this guy LeBron, he's the number 1 scorer in history right now.
So you're picking LeBron?
It's hard.
You got to pick one.
Shit. You have to go LeBron. The reason, this is why. He's played 19 years. His stats is incredible. Now I can make a point for Jordan. Mm. But if I just look at the numbers,
I think LeBron is probably the top 5 passer of all time. I feel like you just get a lot more with LeBron. If let's say you were drafting, right? You're like, I want LeBron, or I want you know you're gonna get so much more with LeBron.
They're different.
They are different. You know what I like to think of is like when LeBron went to the finals in 2007 against the Spurs with kind of like a very weak team. Eric Snow was the starting point guard. They had Big Z as the center. Jordan really had to get Pippen to get over the Pistons hump.
He had to get a lot of people to get over the Pistons hump.
Yeah, and I feel like before that,
Well, LeBron had to go see Wade.
No, for sure, but he made it to the finals, though.
He did.
Obviously they got swept by the Spurs.
Dwight made it to the finals.
No, you're right.
A lot of people made it to the finals.
No, you're right. But Dwight didn't make it 10 times.
So but Jordan, and then LeBron was in Cleveland, so that's not fair. Jordan was in Chicago.
Nobody wanted to play there. Carlos Boozer fucked LeBron over and went to the Jazz. He had a lot. I'm a big LeBron guy.
It was hard for LeBron. I love LeBron, and
their big offseason move was getting Anton Jameson.
I almost went to the Cavs. I told people this story. I almost went to the Cavs.
What year?
I went to the Lakers.
So you almost went and joined LeBron?
Yeah, I was talking to LeBron a little bit about going to the Cavs, but
does LeBron call you to try to recruit you?
We spoke like maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
What was his pitch to you to come to Cleveland?
Just real quick. Like, we here. He called it. He didn't need a pitch, even though I'm 5 years older than him. But at that point in time in his career, legendary, right? So you look up to that. So I was like, oh, wow, this is pretty dope. But I was actually trying to go back to Indiana. So first I was in Houston. So I was trying to go back to Houston because we just lost to the Lakers. I wanted to redeem myself. Then when the Houston said no, then I called my agent. I said, I want to go back to Indiana. Then when Indiana said no, then I tried to get to Detroit.
Which would have been crazy. That would have been so crazy.
Yeah, I was trying to go to the Pistons. And then Joe Dumars is the general manager. He's like, nah, I almost went to the Knicks. If Isaiah got in a little issue, the Knick thing was off the table. So I was probably going to be a Knick at 29 years old, which I was like, that would have been incredible.
Right.
And then when King James reached out, then the Lakers also reached out.
So it was between Cleveland and LA.
When it boils down to it, yeah.
You might have been the difference maker in 2010 for the Cavs.
I was trying not to play with Kobe or LeBron, honestly. R.I.P. my brother Kobe. Because I wanted to play against those guys. But then when no teams wanted me,
you gotta be like,
I'm not saying LeBron, the Cavs did.
Yeah.
Or LeBron did. But I couldn't get any other teams. So when that happened, I had to backtrack like, yo, hey, I'm playing with one of the stars, man. And they only offered me the minimum, so I was just like, whatever. At this point, whatever, man.
Who's the most underrated teammate you ever had in the NBA that you feel like don't get enough flowers?
Well, yeah, obviously, like, because the NBA markets certain people, and some people's more outgoing. But John Salmons
was solid.
Solid player.
He was on the Kings, right? Yeah, I remember. I had him in fantasy basketball.
Great player.
John Salmons, yeah.
Jamison Brewer from Indiana Pacers back in the days. He don't get no credit. He way ahead of his time. We had Jonathan Bender. He got hurt early.
Bender was nice on the Pacers.
Jonathan Bender was nice.
Was he in the dunk contest? I feel like
might have been.
He could dunk he was a beast. I remember Jonathan
Bender. He was like Kevin Durant.
Yeah, he was nice.
Same thing.
Yeah, Bender was nice for sure.
Made a little stronger, better shot blocker. But the same exact player.
Yeah, Jonathan Bender was nice.
Then who else was underrated? I think Trent Hassel.
I know that. Yeah, Trent Hassel.
His defense, not his offense. He could shoot, but his defense was he probably was top 10 from 2000s to now. Trent Hassel probably was top 10 wing defenders.
That's crazy to think of.
A lot of NBA players that played against him, they know that. He was incredible.
Would you ever do a podcast?
I mean, I'm off and on with a podcast. You know what I'm saying?
Because I feel like either that or just like, I think of like guys who get paid to go speak to people to motivate them, whether it's Gary Vee or like Mike Tyson. I feel like there's a lot of money out there for you to be like a motivational speaker, man, to go speak at conferences and shit. I feel like your story's so crazy.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think it's opportunities, but I never had a manager, or I do now. But my whole pro career, I didn't have like an entertainment manager or like an entertainment agent. I ain't you needed that. I was just doing my own thing. You know what I mean? But from that perspective, when you have like those type of people in place, they can find opportunities like that.
Right.
So now, we're thinking about like doing a few things, but I'm still just like kind of in a little bubble. You know what I mean? Focusing on my business and stuff.
Yeah, you got so much other business ventures going on. This big trade just happened. I want to just get your opinion. Harden to the Sixers. Obviously, Ben Simmons, Seth Curry are now on the Nets, as well as Andre Drummond. Who you think won the trade?
Oh, wow. I think both teams won. This is why, because you got people that want to be there.
They both kind of got better, right?
Yeah, I think both teams
It's a very rare instance where like both teams kind of won, especially if Ben Simmons plays. Yeah. Seth Curry's he just had 27 last night.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy is incredible, man. He's not as good as his brother, but he's a really good player. He might be all-star one year.
I think so. If everybody's healthy, who do you like in the finals? Like, who do you like to win the championship this year? Consider
healthy.
If everyone's healthy on every team.
Oh my goodness, the Lakers.
Really?
Man,
What's the problem with the Lakers this year? Because everyone's pointing at Russell Westbrook.
no, it's not all Russell, and nobody's gonna come out and say, "Oh no, this is the reason why." This is the reason why, right? Russell's not gonna point the finger. Then LeBron.
It felt like they were going to try to trade him. At least, like it felt like it.
It's a unique situation because the guys are like older. So then AD goes down. AD wasn't in the best shape coming in.
Nah, for sure.
Right? So AD wasn't so when you had that, I think that was I think people was like, oh man. you know what I'm saying? Because the AD that won a title was different.
Very much so.
Different AD. So then LeBron gets hurt a little bit. And even a year before that, LeBron gets hurt.
Right. It's just a funky fit. It just feels like
remember that ankle injury?
Yeah, I remember. Like if you
That's our championship.
How about this? If you're the GM of the Lakers and it's the trade deadline hasn't hit yet, how do you fix the Lakers? What moves are you making?
I think you just get better, man. No moves. I think what they need to do, because the Lakers is not the 8th worst team in the Western
Of course
Conference.
not. And right now they're like 10th.
Right now they're 10th. Yeah. They're moving down. It's
Yeah.
like,
They're moving the wrong way.
Yeah, they are. But I think like they just need to get better game by game. Move the ball, play together, and don't worry about anything else. Move your feet on defense.
I feel like defensively, there's so many guys that take off possessions.
Oh, they take, yeah. I think, and the other thing is this: they're older.
What would be advice if you're Russell Westbrook's teammate on the Lakers this year and there's so much outside noise happening? What would be some game you would try to give him as a veteran?
Just tell him to play. You know, I mean, if I was just play, that's it. You know, he's not perfect. Nobody is. He's still having triple-double nights. So he's doing some things well, but then we're highlighting the turnovers, which is a lot.
Some of the late game decisions.
And and as a coach, you just watch the film and say, listen, you should not have done this. You should not have done this, right? So if I was in that situation, but if I was like just in a situation where I'm just coming across him, I mean, I would just say, just have fun and keep playing. You know what I'm saying? Have fun, keep playing, and try to win. That's it.
Last two questions. One, you kind of were active in the beginning of what I like to call what sports media has become. Mm-hmm. Like when you were active, a lot of these guys, the Skip Baylesses of the world, the Stephen A's, were just getting their feet wet, but you very much were a talking point of a lot of those guys. Did you ever have any real serious issues with any of the ESPN conversations that were happening in regards to some of the debate shows? Because some of those guys be saying some wild shit.
Nah, but the thing is this: I'm not gonna make this a race thing. I don't like that. But what I would say is this: when I'm from New York, so being from New York,
craziest media market in the world.
Crazy media market, but you also have a lot of different faiths and beliefs. You go 125th Street, Harlem, right? So when you're talking about coming into a different structure, corporate, it wasn't always to our favor. So I already went into it knowing like to expect the worst. You know what I'm saying? Because I never changed. I came into the league on some hood shit. I came into the league like Queensbridge represent. It wasn't like I want to do commercials.
Right.
I wanted people to know like I'm from Queensbridge. So just that alone, I knew I wasn't going to get, a lot of things that I still wanted to be like the NBA player, but I never wanted to forget. So I never listened. Honestly, I didn't listen to a lot of that stuff.
Did you try to ever like buy up any of QB, like as far as like any of the buildings or anything?
I didn't. But when I came out in 1999, I didn't know about real estate.
Right.
I didn't know like
that's fair.
Economics or economy and growth, and I didn't really understand that.
Last thing, you're one of the greatest defenders of all time. Put together your starting five of defenders. Just the top best. Like if you had to put together 5 guys on a team to just best defenders ever, who's making the team, man?
Dennis Rodman.
That's
Bill Russell.
Okay.
Dennis Rodman in his prime, incredible.
Could defend all 5 positions.
All 5.
Including Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh my goodness. He's incredible. Bill Russell. I would say Wilt, but I think Wilt might take off possessions on defense.
I could see that. He was too busy fucking the night before. He was out fucking.
I feel like he's so talented where he probably wouldn't just take off possession. So I'll go with. Actually, I'm taking it back. I'm gonna go with Wilt because he's so tough. He's tough.
Wilt, Russell, Rodman.
Rodman at the 4. Rodman playing 3 defense.
Okay.
He's quick. I'll go with me, and then I'll go with Jordan.
Jordan.
And I'm leaving Gary Payton off, which is not what I would like to do. But if I use that group, I think we lock up like really amazingly.
What about where do you put Tony Allen in that discussion? Because a lot of people kind of think, I feel like Tony Allen was such a specialist in terms of just defense. Like Tony he didn't bring a lot more to the table, like on offense, but defensively he was nice.
See, Tony, me and Tony were in the same era. We was in a championship together also. See, but with Tony, like the reason like I don't mention Tony a lot is actually a couple reasons. One, they was talking about me a lot. But then in Tony's world, they talking about Tony.
Yeah.
Right? Then, but when you talk about defensive player of the year, when we was in Bruce Bowen.
I forgot about Bruce.
You know what I'm saying? Bruce Bowen, myself. And that's right when Tony came into the league. You know, but like Bruce Bowen, then Trent Hassler, obviously Ben Wallace.
And nowadays we have Mikal Bridges on the Suns.
He's a good defender?
Oh, he's amazing.
Really?
Oh, yeah. He's going to be first team all defense this year.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I know he is.
Ben Simmons is an amazing defender.
Ben Simmons is pretty good.
He's that guy for sure. Well, listen,
but with Tony, man, I think Tony like people respect him as a defender
for sure. No,
a lot of people. I don't think I watched enough to see how good of a defender. And I played against him sometimes, so I'm 260. So anybody guarding me, it doesn't really feel like defense.
Who was the toughest guy that you went up against on offense that had to defend you? Like who just would lock you up, or you were just like, this is a headache today.
Some people like Matt Harpring was kind of tough because he was physical, and I wasn't. We were just banging, so I kind of enjoy. That was a tough one on defense. So guarding Matt, a tough one. There was a couple guys out there that was tough, but I was 260 is not much you could do. There's not much. I don't care how good a defender. I'll just put you in the block.
There it is. There it is. Well, listen, man. Anything else you want to promote before you get up out of here?
Nah, man. I'm happy to be on your show, man.
I appreciate you coming by, man. It's an honor, bro.
Thanks for having me, Kevin. For sure.
QB's finest in here. Metta World Peace. The legend. For people who haven't gone and watched the documentary too about your life, it is a great watch. Is it a Showtime documentary?
Yeah, we got the Showtime doc on my life called Quiet Storm after Mobb Deep.
Of course.
Then we got the Malice in the Palace on Netflix, which is Jermaine O'Neal produced that one. It's called Untold.
How's you and Jermaine's relationship these days?
It's cool, man. It's better than I'm happy where it's at.
Do you feel like that documentary was kind of a healing thing for everybody? Because it felt that way.
I was happy with it.
It felt like it was like a healing moment.
I didn't like it initially because I was thinking about more the business side. I wasn't thinking about the healing. I was thinking about more the economics. But when I saw it, I was like, wow, this outweighs the economics in terms of what it did for us, what it did for the guys that was involved.
I think it told the story of that team, and just like, I think it did justice in terms of just like, I don't think you guys get enough credit for how good that team was, how good you were at that time. And I feel like coming away from that documentary, it kind of, we don't, that was so long ago that people don't remember how unfair of a shake you got in terms of the suspensions.
It was very stressful.
And it did feel very racial. It did feel very like, it felt kind of like.
I didn't feel it. I didn't feel the racist, the racial side, because I always approach things as like, I don't give a fuck. Like,
yeah.
I was ready on offense anyway, and then I was in the middle of it, so I wasn't really focusing on like a lot of things that were going around it. But then when I looked at it, I'm like, ooh. Some of these comments, I was like, ooh.
It was fucking like crazy. They were talking crazy.
I was like, wow.
And you was just
some of these guys still on TV.
And they still are on TV? They still are. But listen, man, I appreciate you pulling up. Go watch all that shit and go support this guy. Whatever you got going on, I got you, man.